The Buffalo Bills just gambled their future. When I was a kid, I used to hear the phrase or the idiom, better is one in the hand than two in the bush. What that phrase means is basically it's better for me to have one good thing than the potential of two better or greater things. In this case, Terry Pegula fired Sean McDermott, a good thing, and I'd even argue a great thing. A guy who has done a lot for this organization, who's brought stability to this organization, in hopes that one day we could get a better coach in. Now, there's a lot of coaches that are currently lined up and already getting interviews for the Buffalo Bills. I want to break down a couple of those today, three in particular, some new insight around those guys. I actually want to share two particular stories about one that's a little under talked about in media, but I also just want to acknowledge a couple things in the press conference yesterday. But before we get into it, my name is Collin. This is Crack the Table. We are all Bills, no breaks, breaking down Buffalo Bills content every single day. Hey, subscribe to the channel, join our community. But as always, let's get right into it. Better is one in the hand than two in the bush. Yet Terry Pegula, though a billionaire, though very smart, says this was my decision and he could be wrong. And I'm scared that he's wrong. You know, among the four teams, and here's just some stats, among the four teams here that are still in the playoffs, or that among the four teams on the screen, the top four teams, three of them are in the title games, and one of them lost on the road in overtime with a -4 turnover differential. The Buffalo Bills, we know that. Cooks caught it. We turned the ball over a lot. But the Buffalo Bills are a good team. They were a well-coached team. Yet for some reason, we've got Terry Pegula spitting out facts or spitting out numbers, 5-2-3, 2-2-2-6. Then he goes, great roster, good coaching. If you missed the press conference, those numbers are our seeds over the last handful of years. But one of the things that's very interesting that Terry Pegula said yesterday was great roster, good coaching. He could have said great coaching, good roster. I think that would be more fair. But it seems like Brandon Beane and Terry Pegula are very much so linked up right now. That Terry Pegula has not only fired Sean McDermott, but he's promoted Brandon Beane to own more and to lead more of the football operations for the organization. But here's some other stats for you and something that, frankly, I'm a little concerned about going forward as a fan of the Buffalo Bills. When you look at how much production each NFL team has gotten from its rookie classes since 2020, you can already see it on the screen. It concerns me. Just look down here. We see some of these teams up here that have gotten a lot of production from their rookies. But when we look down and we look at year 2020 to 2025, the literal last team in the NFL is the Buffalo Bills. The quote that Terry Pegula said yesterday was, great roster, good coaching. I think it's been great coaching, good roster. When you look at our cap situation, when you look at the players that we've been signing, and yes, Sean McDermott does have, and he has had some say in the roster, in the choices, in the draft picks. I get that. But a lot of that has ultimately been on Brandon Beane, and he admitted that yesterday. There was a lot of pride and there was a lot of arrogance in that. But when I look at the stats on the contribution of the Bills rookies over the last 5 years, all of which have been under the leadership of Brandon Beane, this is concerning. Terry Pegula didn't realize it, but Sean McDermott was absolutely, and this is a quote, absolutely the security blanket for the organization. McDermott yielded immediate results after he was hired and was responsible for one of the most stable franchises in sports for 9 years. The day he's fired, the day after he's fired, there's a press conference and we see garbage dumps of fire being lit on Twitter over the fact that that was a terrible press conference. I think it lost respect in the eyes of people. You know, a lot of people that are fans of the Bills are on Twitter and they're like, man, I want John Gruden to come interview and be the coach. I heard John Gruden, after this interview, absolutely lambast the Bills organization. Do you think he wants to come coach here? Now, I didn't necessarily want John Gruden to come. You know, he's a great coach in all his own right, but he's not right here for right now. But But there's people that are looking on the organization now. Right after yesterday, I gave you 3 valid reasons on why anybody would want to come coach. But then Terry Pegula and Brandon Beane, in a lot of senses, like, screwed this thing up. Like, what are you doing? There was a lot of mock interviews yesterday on some of the bigger shows, and they were absolutely right. There was a lot better ways to go about yesterday's interview. They could have answered the questions that they were given a lot more politically than they did. Maybe they gave us some juicy nuggets, some spicy nuggets, but it wasn't a good look on the organization, and that's a little frustrating for me. Again, when I go back to these numbers, 5-2-3, 2-2-2-6, when I look at those numbers, I see Sean McDermott. I don't see Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane has made good decisions, but Brandon Beane has also made bad decisions. Let me know right now your thoughts down in the comments. But I want to shift a little bit right here, and I want to talk about 3 offensive coordinator candidates. And I know there's Clint Kubiak right there. I'm not going to talk about him today. But the Bills, reportedly from NFL insider Diana Rossini, are looking at a head coach with an offensive background. Now, the guy I want to share you a couple stories with right now is this guy, Grant Udinsky, who's currently favored is currently favored to be the next coach of the Browns. I think he's already had a couple interviews, or he's going to have his second interview, rather. But a lot of people are pegging him to go to the Browns. But here's a couple things I want to talk about with him. 2 things, 2 stories that I found after doing some digging. The first one. Originally, one of his first opportunities to be a part of any organization when he was in Texas, he slept in his car, slept in the parking lot of Walmart because he didn't have a place to stay, because all he wanted to do was get his chance. He literally showed up to the building first just to make sure that he could get in early, get some work done, but also he was the last to leave. It was a coach, I believe by the last name of Snow, I don't exactly know who this was, who literally was like, hey, where are you sleeping? Comes to find out, he's sleeping in his car at a Walmart. Eventually, it gets, like literally 5 minutes after meeting this coach, is now staying at his house. But then there was another interview of Kevin O'Connell from the Vikings, who he spent some time with. But we know right now, of course, he's the offensive coordinator of the Jaguars. But Kevin O'Connell last season was talking and sharing a story about how Grant Udinsky was literally like the guy who fully knows how to manufacture and build a car, but was getting the job at a car wash because he couldn't even get his foot in the door, or he was struggling because he didn't have that level of pedigree or profile. Yet he was a guy who could completely build a car because he was so analytically detail oriented. And even now, in his time with the Jaguars, talking about the progression and even talking about the way that he runs the offense down there under Liam Cohen has just been really incredible. We've seen an amazing offensive development under Trevor Lawrence, which really, for the last 5 years, he hasn't lived up to the hype that he had coming out of Clemson. But Liam Cohen, and it was really Grant Udinsky who's really brought a lot out of him. And people in national media and all over the place are saying that this is the next Sean McDermott, or rather Sean McVay level of offensive mind, of offensive coach in the NFL. However, he very much so is a mystery box. Now, this is where, again, that phrase, that idiom comes in, where it's like better is 1 in the hand than 2 in the bush. This is a 2 in the bush situation. He could come in and be a brilliant offensive mind for the Buffalo Bills, or he could really lack the experience. 10 years ago, whatever, he was sleeping in his car just trying to get his first coaching gig, right? This isn't a guy who's got a heritage of NFL coaching experience. He's been around a little bit. He's got a lot of respect from guys like Kevin O'Connell. We know that he's been in conversation with some guys with the Seahawks. He's also now been with the Jaguars a little bit. But even Liam Cohen is a first-time head coach with the Jaguars this year. But in all of it, again, he's the mystery box, though the potential of the next brilliant mind. This is a guy who eats, sleeps football. He'd be a risk, but he could be the risk that Terry Pegula is willing to make in light of even just some of the phrases and things that he said yesterday in the press conference. But couple other coaching candidates right here that I want to name. Brian Daboll. I don't have to go too much into who this guy is. We know that he recently was the head coach of the Giants, let go, fired. But previous to that, he was with the Bills. A lot of you guys are familiar with Daboll. A lot of people are polarized by him as a candidate, but we do have confirmation that he is being brought in as a head coach candidate. He's going to get an interview. We'll see what happens with that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments around Daboll. But the one that I'm pretty hesitant on, that we did have confirmation who has already had an interview with the Buffalo Bills, is this guy right here, Joe Brady, who... Say what you want. He had a great end of the season. I do not love his offensive scheme. I think that we massively would be regressed as an organization if the only change that we made going into this next season was a Sean McDermott transition, because Joe Brady cannot coach and lead the defense in the way that Sean McDermott could. And we know, especially in the middle of this last season, that Babich was losing play calling to Sean McDermott. And so there's just a lot of concern there. Babich, I don't think gets the team over the hump. I don't think Brady gets this team over the hump. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But one last thing, not about the Bills organization, but something that caught my eye this morning as I was on X, is that the New York Giants head athletic trainer, Ronnie Barnes, his role was going to be shifted in the organization. For 45 seasons, this man has been the head trainer for the Giants organization. Why am I talking about this? John Harbaugh just became the head coach of the New Jersey Giants. He's coming in and he's already renovating the training staff. We, as the Buffalo Bills organization, have had major soft tissue injuries, major issues. And I know we recently, in this last year, just got a new strength and conditioning coach. I think we need to renovate the system. I think we need a new coach coming in, and I don't care if it's 45 seasons for some of these guys. Whoever comes in needs to renovate this strength and conditioning and training staff, because that has absolutely been the reason we've lost these playoff games. If we had the Hoyts, if we had the Hairstons, if we had a bunch of these other guys who were out against the Denver Broncos, we would not have lost that game. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Again, my name is Collin. We are all Bills, no breaks, breaking down Buffalo Bills content every single day. Consider joining the community, smashing that subscribe button. But in all of this, have a great day. God bless, and go Bills.